Good morning, gentle people. So, today I want to talk to the parents in particular about a topic that I say often. In Jamaica, well, maybe not Jamaica alone, but I've only practiced in two countries, so I can only tell you about those two. So, babies tend to fall off beds a lot. I don't know why. I feel like it's a rite of passage. Like every baby has to drop off on bed at one point. I remember a colleague of mine came in one morning. She was crying. She was like, "Oh my god!" Her husband made her baby jump off the bed, and she was upset. She was frantic, and I was like, "Girl, yeah, you're talking to the choir, babe." Yeah, I feel like almost everybody has a story about their baby falling off the bed, and if not falling off the bed, children play a lot and they run around and they bump their head. Even at school, they might just be playing and bump their head. Now, I know in Jamaica, we have this tradition of saying, "No man, just take him up, give him like a sweet sugar and water." When my baby left the bed, I remember somebody was like, "No man, give him like a sugar and water," and I'm like, I'm gonna evaluate him to see if he needs a CT. But yeah, when does it become more than just sweet sugar and water? So to the parents, if your child has a head injury, fall off the bed, bump his head while playing, was learning to sit up or learning to walk and poof, bump the head. If they have a head injury, when does it need urgent attention? When do you need to run to the doctor? Drop everything where you are, draw on some clothes and run come. Few things. One, if the baby lost consciousness. So, if you were not in the room when it happened and you heard a thud, so you heard poof, and then silence for a little while, and then a cry. Because you weren't there to see, assume that the child lost consciousness. That's what I always tell my parents. Assume that that moment of silence that you heard was loss of consciousness and treat it as such. Come straight to the doctor. Second thing, and also, sorry, if you were there to observe that the child was knocked out, well, obviously you know they lost consciousness. So come to the doctor immediately. Second thing, if they vomited afterwards. Now, ideally, the protocol is if there are at least more than 3 discrete episodes of vomiting. I personally don't take any chances with the patient. I personally do not take chances when it comes to head injury. So once there is vomiting after the head injury, unless the child had like gastro before, like I automatically say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna attribute this vomiting to the head injury. So I would suggest that if there's vomiting after a head injury, you take the child to the hospital. Third thing, altered mental status. So if your child is not normally a child that's sleepy during the day, but suddenly is sleepy, if your child is a normally calm child and suddenly fussy and agitated and cannot sit down and cry, consider that altered mental status as well. Or if a child is asking the same questions over and over again, like he's just not there with you, consider that altered mental status. Next thing, you know your child more than anybody else. He's been with you for his whole life. So if he's behaving different to you, I get that family members, especially your granny, might say, "No, with him." If he's behaving different to you after a head injury, take him to the doctor. Alright? The next thing that you should look for, well, not look for, but the next thing that makes it more urgent than not is if the child fell from a height of more than 3 feet. And I know lots of Jamaicans have a very high bed. So if the bed is more than 3 feet and you fell off that's urgent. Take that one to the doctor immediately. And then one of the other things now that I don't think I have to tell you, I'm pretty sure you would know to take your child to the doctor if this happened. If they have any seizures afterwards, if they have limb jerking, if it's a little baby, they're doing this like a bicycle motion, the hands and feet, take them to the doctor right away. And then there are some things that might show up a little later. So let's say you didn't think it was important, your granny convinced you to give me sugar and water and stay home. But then a few hours later, maybe up to 24 hours, you see under their eyes start looking dark. So they look like a raccoon. If you know what a raccoon looks like, after this video, Google raccoon. So if under their eyes start developing dark circles, that's a sign that you should move to the doctor. If you notice a little bruised blood thing here behind the ears, move to the doctor immediately. One little hematoma right also behind the ears, right on a little bone here, immediately move to the doctor. Alright? Those things are signs of a basal skull fracture, and you want to hurry up and get them to a doctor immediately so they can get a CT done. Also, if you see any clear fluid leaking outside the nose. Now, if a child didn't have a cold before, right? and you suddenly see after their head injury that they start having clear stuff coming out of the nose, immediately run to the doctor. If they start having blood coming out of the ears, I don't have to tell you that. I'm sure anybody who sees their child with blood coming out of the ears will run to the doctor. But if they have the clear stuff coming out of the nose, that's also a sign. If they had a cold before, but now it's a lot more coming out of the nose and it's just not stopping, go to the doctor as well. Or else that child might actually need a CT brain. And then once they get to the doctor now, or if you notice it, if when you press down on them skull, you feel a little dip, or you see a hematoma, not on the forehead. Granted, you can have hematomas on the forehead for severe injuries as well, but if it's somewhere other than the forehead, that's even more concerning. Alright? So all of those things, if you see any of those things after your child has a head injury, even if you, your granny, your mother, you say, that's because you're going to have a time need, go and get the child evaluated. It will save you from tears later on. I promise you. Alright? Cool.